Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Varga, and today I'll be taking you through the April 13th, 2023 release of DB Precision, version 2022.23.4.13. If you have any questions about what we go over during this video, please call 860-540-3690 or email us at support@pensionsoft.com. In this version, we've added functionality that will increase efficiency throughout DB Precision as well as through the portal. To start, we've added the ability to add a person through the portal, which can be done by administrators and sponsor contacts if you choose to enable this setting. In order to add a person, you go to the portal, click on the home menu, go to the open participant screen, and you'll now see an add new button here. You have that selected, it'll bring you to the screen here. It asks for similar components that DB Precision asks for when adding a person. So you'd fill in the name information that you have, SSN information, all of this, you fill this out, and then you would hit the add button. Once you do so, that person would be added to the database for this sponsor. This checkbox here just means that you will open that person once you've created them. As I mentioned, you'd have to turn this functionality on for a particular sponsor contact. If you wanted to give them access to this, this is something you'd have to opt into on a sponsor contact basis. Administrators will have this ability by default, but sponsor contacts, you'd have to go to their record here. You go to the portal button. And as you can see, I have the can add a person using the portal checkbox checked. Another thing you'll see is you have a checkbox here that says can delete a person using the portal. This functionality will be rolled out at a later date, but we did add this checkbox now so that you can edit this functionality all at the same time. And we will go over it in the future video for a new release in the future when this functionality is available to our customers. For license administration, we now display version number and activity date of each license to help identify out-of-date installations and licenses that are not being used. So if we go to System, then License Administration, what we now see is an extended view, a display of details for individual users. We can now see the version number that that person is using to identify whether something that they are seeing on screen is a result of using an old version or what version they may be using. Additionally, we are displaying the last activity of that user so that you can shut off old licenses in case you are bumping up against your license limit, or if you need to log another user off because they have the sponsor open that you need access to. Additionally, in plan documents, we've added some functionality to help you find items and get to items more efficiently than in the past. So if we go to the find button here, and let's say we search for an item, maybe I'll search for salary scale. This is something that was already available to our customers. However, the change here is that when a user clicks a reference to an item in the find search results, which is at the bottom of the screen there, the reference item is now selected in the active tab. So what this means is if I want to go to salary scale or the references to salary scale, let's say I want to go to the export definition that references this item, I can double click on the item and it brings me to that item. It opens the folders that the item is within, gets you right there. Now, if you're looking for the item itself that you're finding, such as, again, salary scale, instead of doing find and then going to the output and then double clicking on salary scale, the next item we've added is we've added a new button on the dialog that we see on the screen here that goes to the searched item within the plan or sponsor if it's found. So make sure that you have the plan tab open when you do this. If you have a person open, nothing's going to happen when you go to that item. If I go to salary scale, now it brings me to the item type and the folder that it resides in. Additionally, if you were looking through folders to find items, now what you can do is you can hover over the item and a list of the items contained within those folders will display here. So I can see the items in the accrued folder, DC items, so on and so forth. Additionally, if I am looking at a particular formula, I can hover over an item, and if it resides in a folder, we'll now actually see that folder name. So if I hover over this item, the bottom of the tooltip does say folder name accrued. If it doesn't have a folder, then it's just going to show nothing there. Moving to benefit payment sets, we've changed the way that we display inputs for optional benefits. So now if we look at the screen here, instead of seeing the menu that existed in previous versions, we now see a list here that we can click into and view different details of each item. So if I want to go to the 50% joint survivor with pop-up, I could double click into here. All of the inputs remain exactly the same, but the difference really is that we can see all of our items all at once, as opposed to previous version, you'd have to select the drop down to bring you to the relative value override or the benefit value for relative value determination. Now they just exist all on the same screens here with a tab view, because there are a lot of inputs on the screen. For PIA level income options, we now have a new option to reference an annuity factor for purposes of determining relative value. So what this means is if I go to a level income option, typically if you're setting up a level income and you're using the automatic calculation of a actuarial equivalent level income to the single normal form, by definition then your level income would be 100% of what the single normal form was. But if you are trying to do relative value of the level income on a different basis than what you're using for the single normal form, then what you can do is you can go into the options for PIA level incomes, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a new drop down that you can indicate what the relative value annuity definition is. So normally this will be selected as none still, because 99% of the time it's all on the same basis, but if you did want to value it differently, you could do so here. For stored payment forms, we now store a lump sum as a return of contributions when the selected payment name includes contributions. So what this looks like is, if I have an optional form that has the word contributions within the description, like we do here, like return of contributions or return of employee contributions, when I go to calculate someone, if I go down to the bottom of the screen, and if I indicate that this should be the stored selected option, what now happens is, because I had the word contributions in the description, the payment form is stored as a return of contributions as opposed to a regular non-life contingent lump sum. We've added a new formula function called Get With Detail, which will display items that reside in the benefit tax withholding election section. So if we want to return any of these inputs that we see on the screen here, we can now do so within a formula-derived item. That item would look like this right here, the Get With Detail function. It contains a type, which is either federal, state, or local, and then a code, which you can see on the screen here. So this item would return the annual adjustment on a federal level for this person. Moving on to PIA benefit amounts, we included a new option to round final monthly benefit amounts to the next lowest dollar. And so what this looks like is a new input within Social Security PIA. This new checkbox on the bottom of the screen right here, round monthly amount to next lowest dollar. And what that does is, previously, we did not have this checkbox. What we were matching was the benefit before rounding if we were doing a side-by-side comparison to a PIA calculation. So without the checkbox, in this particular example, the system would return 285.60 times 12, because we display an annual amount in our definition. However, once we check this box, now that would match 285 times 12 when we calculate the plan PIA amount for a particular person in this scenario. We've added a new option for exporting reported amount details into export definition bookmarks. So what this looks like is, we go to a particular export definition, you have the ability, as we've gone over in previous videos, the ability to set a bookmark in your Word document and then reference that bookmark as the range in which you'd like to drop a table that DB Precision creates for you. So in this case, now we have a new option for reported amount detail. I can indicate that I want to display base earnings, and here are the details I want to display, so on and so forth. As long as I have a valid bookmark in the Word document, the system would drop the table in there and move on from there. For the new person wizard, if we're creating a new person from another person, we now populate the person's date of death if one exists in the original beneficiary input. So what this looks like is if I have a person with a beneficiary who has a date of death, if I needed to add this person's beneficiary as a record in DB Precision, pretty uncommon, but nonetheless, we go to add that person. We'll add an actual benefit amount for this person. And what we see on screen here is that this person's date of death goes through. Moving on to archive display. Similar to our formula-derived items and export definitions that have a different icon when they're enabled on the portal. So just like we might see here, for example, export definitions that have a globe icon because they're enabled on the portal. Now, if I add an export to a particular person, by default, it'll have just a regular either yellow, orange color if it's selected or blue if it's not selected. If I go in and I say that I have sponsor contact or internet portal, or person internet portal access, now I have a globe icon here. It's just a quick way of showing you what items are being shown on the portal versus what items are not shown on the portal for that particular person. For group validations in the data tab, we've modified the Excel file that comes from this validation to no longer insert lines between errors, while also adding an error type column to simplify output filtering in Excel. So what this means is if I go to check the sponsor group validation right here, run a validation on the group. If I indicate that I want to export these errors or potential discrepancies into an Excel listing, you can do so by checking the box on the left side of the screen here. What we now have, previously we had blank rows between different error types, and additionally we didn't have a type column. So we've added this for more ease of use when reviewing this file in Excel. For valuation snapshots, when adding a new valuation snapshot, we now properly pre-populate the filter formula and inactive checkbox. So what this looks like is if I go to add a snapshot, what we'll see is this filter formula pre-populates now. And that is because the last snapshot that was run had a filter formula as well. So to view inputs on previous snapshots, I can go to a snapshot, click on the inputs button, and it will show me disabled because this is what was done previously, can't change this. So it shows me what was used in the last snapshot. And you can see a filter formula was used there. So now, so that you don't have to re-input the same filter formula that you used most recently, when you add, filter formula will come through for you automatically. We've made some changes to the data request through DB Precision. So if I go to the valuation and data request, create request button, and run this quickly, and the system will populate an Excel file that can be given to your client to fill in with prompts on what data items are missing potentially. We've added some columns and changes to display, mostly due to terminations and benefit information. So I'm looking at this file. First thing we change is that we show Quadro in the beneficiary column if a participant is a Quadro rather than a standard beneficiary. So while we don't have any Quadros in this particular plan, you would see the word Quadro in this column as opposed to yes being just a beneficiary, and then Quadro if the person is receiving a Quadro benefit. Additionally, for terminations, we've added a hidden termination type column to simplify import of termination dates back into DB Precision. So what we'll notice here is that there is no column K. displaying right now, that is a hidden column. If I were to unhide this, you'd see that there's a termination type, and they all have ones here, meaning there's terminations, no reason given types for these people. That's obviously the most common, but if you find yourself storing particular termination types for people and you take this file, re-import into the system, you need to have that type still in there. Otherwise, all of your voluntary terminations would turn into no reason givens. So we have that kind of hidden so that your sponsor, your contacts at your clients probably don't, aren't familiar with this concept. So it's better to not confuse them. That's hidden there. You're welcome to unhide it before giving to them if you'd like to. And then you'd be able to import using this termination type along with the actual date of term that's given to you. Moving along to the notes report. So if I go to Tools, Notes Report, and run a notes report, we have a new column that indicates whether a contact inquiry is incoming or outgoing. And so in terms of where that is, that's right here in column J, direction. These two items are both incoming. We've added portal color settings at the request of one of our clients' customers. We've added support for the ability to customize portal colors using the portal settings screen. So if we go to the portal settings screen, we will now see a new tab called Color. If I go here, right now there would be no override selected by default. However, if you choose that you'd like to change one of the colors that we see on the portal, you click on the Override Portal Colors button, and you have the ability to change a button color here. Let's say you make a change and you don't like it, you can reset, make more changes, or you can just choose to no longer override your portal colors by unchecking this box. We have rewritten the WorkTrack engine to improve load times of sponsors on the portal. We just wanted to point this out in case there were any of our clients with very large quantities of WorkTrack tasks for their sponsors. We wanted to point this out that this is something that we have addressed. And additionally, we've reduced the WorkTrack update times on the portal to under 5 seconds, even for plans with large numbers of WorkTrack tasks. Well, that's it for today's video. If you have any questions about what you've seen today, please call 860-540-3690 or email us at support@pensionsoft.com. Thanks.